as a bit of a disclaimer as we get into this situation, I don't know anything about Creative Assembly. I don't know anything about Total War. The only thing I know about it is that like Angry Joe is a massive shill for the company and the franchise. I'm aware that Total Warhammer 3 has had a ton of issues. I'm aware that like Angry Joe tried like doing damage control for them, and I know that he spurred out when Mario Rabbids won like a game award last year, beating out Total Warhammer 3, which was like one of the highlights of the show for me, right? You never see it coming. Oh, you'll see. It was fantastic, okay? Like I thought Angry Joe really made himself look like a fool in that situation. And to see what's happened after that, to see like Total Warhammer, like Creative Assembly, like the issues with that title just keep building up and building up, leading up to like the release of their big new project, Hyenas. The $100 million game from Sega that bombed so badly they canceled it after the beta. All right, it wasn't going to do well at all. It was a disaster. Nobody liked it. Nobody cared for it. And now Creative Assembly has fired like 40% of their staff, including like a senior manager or whatever, in order to like continue this in, in order to cut costs and like try and like fix the problems with Total Warhammer 3. And that's the thing though, like fix the problems, right? Like from what I understand, the company has nothing else in the pipeline. They are completely reliant on Total Warhammer 3. The DLC they've shown off looks unappealing to the audience, and their big new project flopped, right? Like it looks like to me, again, going by like a casual perspective, well, not even a casual, like I am a complete pleb when it comes to Total War. Like I have no knowledge of it all. Like I don't even know what it is. Okay, like I don't know how it plays. It's like it looks cool. Like I've seen gameplay footage of it, and it actually looks awesome. But like again, I've heard about the glitches, and so I'm not like willing to invest, and it's like a PC game or something. So I'm not like super thrilled at the idea of going out and playing it, even though it does look super super cool, right? Like I'm looking at this game, like I don't know anything about it, but it looks as if the company is done for. It looks like this is going to be the end of Creative Assembly, and it looks like this is going to be another anti-Nintendo company that just bites the dust completely out of nowhere. People will like not remember they existed 5 years from now. Like all anybody will do is just be like, huh, glad they're dead after all the nonsense they pulled. And then like they'll just move on to like hype up the next major gaming franchise, right? Like we've seen this pattern play out time and time again, right? It is typical for the non-Nintendo audience to just like consume products from these companies and then just forget they ever existed, right? And I do think this is going. The thing that interests me about this is specifically the whole Angry Joe thing, right? The biggest shill for Creative Assembly I'm aware of, right? This is a guy who like put Total Warhammer 3 on his top 10 games of 2022 list, claimed it was like now glitch free after several months, which isn't actually true. Like even now, that's not true. Um, this is a guy who spurred several times, even in that video, like months later, like about the Game Awards and how Mario Rabbids won and how like the journalist behind the game like completely didn't get it and dropped the ball and stuff like that. Like it's crazy to think that like within a year of that incident, that Angry Joe has like in this position where he's in this he is just simply a complete failure, right? Like everything he shilled for in this for this specific title, right? In this genre, like in this, for this company, like it's completely gone. Like all that anger and rage and like hype for this game, trying to get people to buy it, trying to hype people up on it, trying to act as if like this is some big deal, right? Like trying to convince people that this is a great game, right? Like trying to to shill for this. It all fell apart, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like not only did people not like pay attention to Angry Joe's video, like nobody cared that he was shilling for the game, right? Nobody noticed other than like me, right? It wasn't like a big deal for the audience, but like if you pay attention to this, if you're like me, like you the only reason I know about Creative Assembly and Total Warhammer 3 is because of like Angry Joe and his like fixation on it, right? And like if the company goes bankrupt, like what is he gonna cover? Like this is another massive L in the Angry Joe portfolio because like it demonstrates that like no matter how hard Angry Joe shills for something, it's not gonna magically make it successful, right? And I would say Total Warhammer 3 was like the game he shilled the hardest last year. Like I can't think of anything else I noticed that he covered extensively or like addressed or like raged at so much. Like it really does feel like well, first of all, his views are going down. Like I do think that's safe to say at this stage. I've seen I didn't watch his Starfield review. Even I didn't watch his Starfield review. Right? It was months late. Like it's like an hour long, and he gives it like a 6 out of 10. Right? I only know that because it was posted on V. But like I think the view count is like what, like 60,000 for like a major release from Microsoft. Like he dragged his feet on that so much, so much that I don't think it's his video would never have been popular, even if he was on like the top of his game. Like he is taking so long to release new videos that like they're becoming irrelevant by the time he finally releases his video, right? Mortal Kombat 1 he never covered. Final Fantasy 16 he never covered. Tears of the Kingdom he never covered. Like these are like the biggest games of the year, and he just somehow doesn't have time for them in spite of being like a full-time streamer. Like what are you doing, bro? Like I'm working 12, 15 hours a day, like technically working 2 jobs, right? Online personality, book stuff, and like the real day job, right? Like I can talk about like basically everything that comes out to some extent. But like he always tries to make some excuse, like the most recent one I saw, like, oh, I went outside. That's why I can't cover these games because I went outside. Like you can go outside when a major release, is finished or it's not coming out, right? Like you have like 90% of the year to do whatever you want. Like, why are you struggling so much with coming up with something that why are you struggling so much to put out content, right? Like I'm seeing his rapid fire reviews. Like he seems to have no problems like covering Assassin's Creed Mirage or Armored Core 6, but certainly no Nintendo content. Certainly nothing from like that people actually want to see from him, right? Like it's all just a bunch of like corporate crap that like he's being paid to shill half the time, right? And I have to wonder if like Total Warhammer 3 was like the same kind of situation. If like he had a very strong relationship with his company, and now that it's gone, now that like they're going to become completely irrelevant in the coming weeks and months, like going to completely go bankrupt, right? They're going to shut down, never produce another game. Nobody's going to care about them anymore. Like with that bridge burnt, like what else is it going to lean on? Because last year I commented on this that like it feels like the three things that prop up Angry Joe's coverage channel are like Marvel slop, licensed movie games, uh and grand strategy games. Like I would honestly say that like grand strategy games are like the only genre he seems to genuinely like. Because he's always putting them on there. He's always talking up. Like it seems to be his thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's not like he's a YouTuber that tries to like present himself as like the grand strategy guy, right? Like, honestly, I probably would have preferred that if he did that. Instead, he's supposed to be talking about all the major releases that come out, but he never does. Like, it is absurd the lengths he goes to to just angrily just just uh just refuse to cover content, right? Like I covered extensively like the Tears of the Kingdom thing earlier this year, how he was making up lies about how Nintendo would like copyright claim his content, even though that doesn't happen. I can confirm this, like it doesn't fucking happen. Right? Like he keeps doing this line of like saying that like Nintendo like is going to take down his video content, but like that doesn't happen, right? Like, this channel is pro Nintendo. What actually seems to happen is that like they're not paying him to cover the content, right? I think that's the real issue. Um, obviously like that's not like 100% confirmed or anything, but like it is embarrassing, right? Embarrassing to see how far his channel has fallen over the past couple of years. And I feel like a lot of these minor controversies with like, the Total Warhammer 3 shilling and like Starfield being late, they're all really wildly piling up, right? To the point where like I think his channel is slowly dying, right? Like I've seen more and more people like over the past couple of months like talking about how subscriber counts don't mean anything anymore, right? Because like so many subs are inactive because like so many YouTubers are just putting out absolute garbage content that nobody is watching YouTube anymore. Right? It really does feel like is that the platform, especially at least in the gaming community, is just really severely falling off, right? Like the it feels as if like the entire industry is collapsing. And it won't be much longer now until we reach the point where I think like all of these people just like lose all of their channels, just become completely irrelevant, just lose all of their relevancy, just and like there won't be anyone to replace them, right? Like Angry Joe is getting older all the time, and his like established audience, right? The people who defend and like love his content, right? Like these guys are going to stop watching him, and his entire empire is just going to become completely worthless, right? Like it is going to happen. And we are seeing like the slow Cinemassacre-esque decline of the channel. And it's a million different things, right? YouTubing is not a career to begin with, right? Refusing to cover content, shilling for certain companies while like aggressively going after others, Nintendo. Like, it's gonna be a million different things. People bring up like the Game of Thrones shilling and like the She-Hulk thing. Like nobody's ever gonna leave that down, right? Like I think that's gonna be the big thing that kills him, right? Is like the She-Hulk thing. Like all anybody needs to do to downplay him in the Marvel sphere these days is just bring up the fact that he like damage controlled She-Hulk and like he damage controlled the Barbie movie and he damage controlled like all of this crap, right? Like he's known for that. He is notorious for that. I I expect like going forward, we're going to see a lot more pushback to Angry Joe, right? Like I do think we are going to see a point where like the income drops significantly, and he's not going to be able to maintain what he's been doing, right? And I do think this is like the next major thing to kind of impact him as a brand and as a channel. Like this situation this situation is severely impacting him, right? Like this is one of those things that is going to lead to the decline of his channel. It might be small, it might be something that like might be ignored or might be downplayed, but like it is building, right? We are witnessing the beginning of the end of Angry Joe, The Angry Joe Show, and I cannot wait to see it happen.